folks, welcome to America 2.0. How are you? I'm Mark. Another one from yournewswire.com. Ukraine propaganda says Putin will launch nuclear missiles on Moscow. This has to go with that the globalists don't want to spend the time in the misplacement of the missile systems and have them go off course, so they're probably asking each leader to do their own nuclear attacks like they did 9/11. I said about the South Carolina thing, how South Carolina had a nuclear warhead found being transferred after Obama threatened South Carolina that the enemies of the United States would bomb South Carolina. I did one just a few seconds ago on Russian situation in the Balkans and how everybody said that, that would happen. And here's one saying that the Ukraine news is saying that, and that, that the Kremlin is going to launch nukes on its own people. Well, folks, there's a lot of prep work in using the missiles. As we've seen with UN commander, or U.S. naval commander not wanting to fire, they can't have 75 people on each team do that, folks. They can't do it. They cannot trust that, this is going to be so. So what they can do is they can just put them in an abandoned building or something, put them in a car that's been there for 5 years or something, and when it's needed, they go off, whatever the situation is. So here it is, folks. Ukraine propaganda says Putin will launch nuclear war on Moscow. According to the Ukrainian news website, the head of the Kremlin press service allegedly said that in the event of a military coup in Russia, Putin will ready to launch a nuclear attack on his own people in Moscow. I don't know which way this is going to go, if it's going to say that he's going to launch to protect them, or he's going to launch to kill them off, but we'll see. New threats by the opposition cause panic in the Kremlin. It refers to the Noviu paramilitary units operated in the opposition. President expects military aggression and ready to give a fitting rebuff to the enemy, both outside and inside the country. If the opposition Sealy try a coup with the military power, the president does not rule out the possibility of using nuclear weapons against the rebels. Writes the Russian TV channel Life News. There it is, folks. newsdaily.com.ua/post/795889. However, Russia strongly denies the claims and says it's Ukrainian propaganda. So this is actually really short, folks. Let me go ahead and talk about this, even though you're going to hear me say the same thing I've said in the last two videos. And I just said this before, and I'll reiterate it. Yes, I'm starting to look like that dude that says aliens a lot. I know. I need to calm this down. I know. Sorry, but that's actually the truth. I mean, look, it's getting grisly. Anyways, what I want to say is they knew, or they've been watching their commanders, folks. I'm sure just as well in Moscow, just as well in any country around the world, there have been entire groups of generals and high staff that have been removed from power. I guarantee you that is true for Moscow, as it is for Britain, as it is for Italy, as it is for North and South Korea. Those that cannot perform, those that cannot follow orders are fucking out of here. Period. Problem solved. They're out. They're done. Now, what this means is, very, very truthfully, that they now have to worry about coordinates getting screwed up. and missiles hitting lakes and oceans and not hitting prime targets. And they have to worry about individual commanders not doing their job, not following orders to a T, and saying, no, I will not kill those people. I will not nuclear bomb those people. This is not the 1950s. I know better. Fuck you. I ain't doing it. So what are they going to do, folks? Eventually, what would happen is somebody would fire. Alright, the president has his football at all times, but there has to be people, folks, who will answer the football. He can't just tell his person carrying the football, type the codes, and the missiles launch. Best as I understand it, at least. There has to be people on the other line that go to NORAD and everybody else that funnel it down and go to U.S. Naval Command of some sort, and probably a U.S. Air Force Command as well, that goes to the silos and says, hey, President so-and-so said launch. And the top commander says, no, I will not kill those people. No, I will not play this party, the separatist party banker game. No, I will not do it. So what has to happen, if they want this war to go off like it's supposed to, they can't trust their own people. They can't. They're fodder. I put you in command to follow orders. You cannot follow orders. Fuck you. Goodbye. Well, that's the problem right now, folks. So what are they going to do? I've already put up the video, which most are saying it's bullshit, it's bullshit, it's bullshit. You know, if the nukes were being moved around, we would know. We would know. We would know. And everybody else is like, another 9/11. Wow, really? What the fuck? Now with nukes? Really? What the fuck? So it's kind of 50-50 at this point, folks. But I think if they really want that nuclear war, they're going to have to do it themselves. Honest to God, 100%, every which way, folks. They're going to have to do it themselves. That's the way I see it. They are going to have to do it themselves. And I don't even know where to begin with this, but I imagine that would be something like there's a, you know, you gotta use safe houses and shit like this for this, or different things. I imagine put them underground in the sewers, whatever the fuck you're gonna do. I have no idea what these people, what their individual sources are and what they're gonna use, but put them out of place. And if they're gonna be the big fucking ones, folks, I mean, those are a few hundred pounds. I mean, if you're gonna have a Hiroshima or a Nagasaki go off, which one or two, fine, they will be. Most of them are going to be like the contained within a 5 and 10 mile radius, and they're going to be the ones that you can go in 2-3 weeks and do the cleanup. If this actually comes down, folks, you know, it's going to be their own people doing it. It's going to be, you know, people closest to the White House that have already done the paperwork, and they probably, Moscow also included, Italy, etc., probably already have their own orders to do this. They probably have the nukes ready, I imagine. I don't know. I could be wrong. They're not going to come out and tell you, and I'm not going to confirm it. Say, hey man, there's all kinds of crazy shit going on. I can't confirm nothing. I don't have any idea who's doing what anymore. Nobody's confirming a fucking thing. Period. I'll tell you one thing, folks. The other day, I'm known to be a little psychic, little this, little that, and the other day I was looking up in the sky, okay? There was this glare of the sun that caught my eye, and all of a sudden flashed into my head, like as if it was actually going off, like, and it flashed in my head, April 1 through 10. Now, does that mean anything? No, probably not. But shit like that doesn't normally happen to me, folks. I'm not giving coordinates and lottery ticket numbers or nothing like that. So it could be April 1 through 10 of 2079 for all I fucking know. I have no reference points. I have nothing. But tell you what, folks, that second that I saw that little glare and it flashed over me, it felt like it was there. So if you're having people that you know that are partly psychic, ask them, are you feeling anything? Because last couple of days I've been feeling some weird shit. I walked outside and it was dreadfully cold, and I've been feeling some really strange shit going on. Now you got CERN, you got the weather being messed up, you got, all the viruses in the air. Oh, fine. Okay, fine, yes. But that little flash I saw that came out of the corner of the eye and everything else, when I was looking at the sun, could have been peeked through the trees or whatever, fine, but you can't account for the date as being the sun. So it's going to be interesting to see. I ain't going anywhere. I've stopped all my travels. I have stopped all my routine stuff till this shit gets settled. I was going to go to Canada, go to the casino, and I don't even want to be anywhere near a major city next couple of weeks, folks. And right now, for some reason, my eyes are tearing up like crazy. So you go ahead and you watch this, folks, and keep reporting, keep commenting, and everything else. But everybody's saying it's going to be an inside job. I keep going with the John Teeter story. I keep talking about the Single 7 story on Coast to Coast AM that I listened to in the 90s. And I've kind of wrote things down over the years of different, time travel stories and shit. And, how the John Teeter story I would read from just for generalization purposes. He said he was a genuine regular soldier. He was following orders. He did this, he did that, that's it. And everybody believed he was this super savior with all this information. One of the things I wonder is, did he not know that it was all staged? And I say that, and right now in my mind I'm going, with the information. Could he not have been able to process the idea that the attacks on the United States, the attacks on Russia, were their own people, their own militaries doing it just to kick off the war? Was he that smart? Didn't seem like it. Then again, he couldn't tell us about a lot, but he might have not known. He might have been an Eloy, for all we fucking know. He might have been one of these government loyalists that just happened to be the right place at the right time during the right system and got through the war and got to be a time traveler and such. I don't know the difference. Could be all fake and all made up. I don't know. The only story that I follow everything is the Mad Max Markham story, and that was, I think, 2011. And with the Mad Max Markham, the FBI have a file, and one of the things that I said when I was being investigated for some stuff, I talked to him, everything's good now, to the best of my knowledge, everything else. But I said, well, if you guys want to charge me, I want that Mad Max Markham story. And what it was it was done by the FBI. The FBI caught this guy stealing, God, what was it? Stealing parts of like the, he had broken into a power plant, and he was stealing the transformers. His story was, if you reverse the flow of the transformer and sync it to a special frequency, at the very tip of the transformer there's a mini black hole. And he found this out when he was working for the electrical industry because I guess he was in some industrial plant somewhere where they had a bunch of them for something, and he dropped a wrench. Wrench went down. The wrench wasn't seen for 5-10 minutes. And him and his buddies were working. All of a sudden, they heard this loud clinking noise. And they said, "God damn it, what the fuck is going on? What was that?" And the Mad Max Markham guy said, "Well, I had dropped a wrench about 5 minutes ago." "Yeah, well, what the fuck was that? How the hell do you get 5 minutes ago?" He says, "If you look, there's a little black spot over that, like a shadow. I dropped it. It must have fucking gone in there." No, that doesn't fucking happen. So anyways, this guy, for whatever reason, decided to go rip off a power plant, and I guess had a truck and everything, and had these, and he did the time for the I'm not even sure what you would call it. It wasn't really breaking and entering, but it was trespassing and stealing. So, and they cut him a deal. They gave him a laboratory in Arizona, and his parole officer hadn't seen him in 3 to 4 weeks. And the I guess what they gave him was a warehouse that nobody was using in the middle of fucking nowhere, so he couldn't hurt anybody. But the FBI believed he was onto something. They had their technical advisors there watching him. He had a tether on. He saw his parole, his PO all the time, everything else. So basically, and then he just, for like a week straight, didn't meet a deadline or something. And what had happened was, they found out that his warehouse that he was assigned to had burned down. That all the equipment was gone. It was burned down. And if you follow the story even remotely, folks, I found one that said he was found, or rather he was not found, but rather that there is a story, and you can look into this, folks, because I haven't been able to find it. They probably seized the newspaper articles and everything out of every library in the country that has it, probably not on Rolodex or anything simple like that. But in 1934, there's a story about a guy that looks exactly like this Mad Max Markham guy, and he's coming out of the desert into this town where I can't even find the file anymore. I can't find any resource on this situation, but he's coming out of the desert, and he stumbles into this town, and his face is all probably burnt, his clothes are all tattered, he's probably almost dead. Why 1934? I have no fucking idea. But basically, supposedly, his time travel machine worked. Only once, but it worked. So that's the story here, folks.